Alright, what is going on, everybody? Today I have a special video for you guys. I have gone and made 30 legend concept cards for NHL 19, players that I think should be in NHL 19 as a legend. Now, just before we get into the video, I'm just going to go over a few kind of things with the cards that I did. A lot of these players are from the 100 greatest players of all time that they released, I think it was last year. And then a few are from just players that I grew up watching and I think deserve a legend card. The ratings aren't necessarily that accurate. What I've done is I've just based the ratings off of how they were in their NHL career, not how I think they're going to be rated in NHL 19, or based off of previous legend ratings as well. So we're going to start things off with Kela Fleur. He was the goalie during those golden years for the Edmonton Oilers when they won those cups. I think he was the first black player to win a cup, maybe. And then he won some other awards as well, not based off of his color, but also based off of how good he was in the league. He's also a goalie that I watched when I was younger too, and I really liked him, so that's why I wanted to make him a legend card. 92, he wasn't the best goalie of all time, probably wasn't even top 10, but I do have him there anyways as a 92, and you can take a look at the card, the stats, whatever. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the specifics of each stat, just going to go through the players, show you their card, and show you why I have them here. Next up, we got Peter Forsberg. Of course, Peter Forsberg has to have a legend card. I feel like EA try and lean more towards the new age players that played within the last maybe 30 to 40 years, whereas there aren't like any players that played from like 1960 and under really that much. They currently don't have any players that are like vintage hockey players and the hockey legends, so I feel like they should add those ones. But Peter Forsberg had a tremendous career, and I'd like to see him have a legend card next year. 92, Sawchuck currently has a 92. That's pretty much the only reason why I made Peter Forsberg a 92. Based off of this list and all the ratings, he could be higher. He could be stay at a 92, who knows. Next up, we have Jacques Plante, obviously the goalie who invented the mask, and there's not really much to say. He's a legendary goalie in the NHL, and definitely I think should have a card, especially if they start doing this all-time legends, 500 legends they're adding to the game, whatever it is, he should be in the game. Next up, we got Denis Savard. Now, Denis Savard was a phenomenal player. His goal against the Oilers was just ridiculous. Very well known for doing the spin move. I have him as a playmaker. It doesn't necessarily mean that he just passed the puck really well. I kind of put him as a playmaker because he was good at making plays. He was just good at getting scoring opportunities, working his way into the slot, making passes and stuff, so that's why he's a playmaker. Moving on, we got Madison Jeans. So Madison Jeans was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame along with Bure, Oates, and Joe Sakic a few years ago. I think it was, I don't even know how long ago it was, but either way, he definitely should have a legend card at some point because he is a legend, a Toronto legend, a legend in the NHL. Just had a really good career. I have him as a power forward just because I don't really know what play style he could have. He's humongous, and he was a good offensive force, so that's why I have him as a power forward. Moving on, we got Daniel Alfredsson. Now, Daniel Alfredsson may not really be a legend in most people's eyes, but being from Ottawa and growing up watching him play, I feel like he's an Ottawa legend. And if they're adding players like Teppo Numminen, Kimmo Timonen into the game, they can definitely add Daniel Alfredsson into the game as a legend as well. Next up, we got Adam Oates. I talked about him earlier. Obviously, an amazing player in the NHL, a phenomenal playmaker. Definitely deserves a card. 96 hands on him would be insane. Moving on, we got Larry Robinson. So, Larry Robinson, the first Montreal legend that we're seeing, and I really hope that they start adding more Canadian legends because Montreal literally had Sakic and Kirk Muller. One of the greatest franchises of all time has two legends in the game. Like, come on, you gotta add some more of these guys. Larry Robinson's a start and definitely could be in the game next year. Next up, we got Sergei Fedorov. Now, 93 may be a little generous, but he is I think he holds the record for the most points by a Russian player. So he is definitely a legend, and his offensive category looks really good. Next up, we got Brian Leetch. Now, Brian Leetch is a legendary American defenseman, and there isn't really much to say about him. Just a defenseman that should be in the game. That's pretty much it. Moving on, we got Maurice Rashard. This would be an absolutely phenomenal card. His skating and shooting stats on his card are ridiculous. Hands, checking, defense, they're kind of on the mediocre side. I'm sure those his stats could be more balanced. I'm just trying to show that he was a crazy fast skater, and he had an unbelievable talent for scoring goals, so that's why I have him at that. And Maurice Rashard would be so cool to have in the game next year. Next up, we got Ron Francis. I have him on Pittsburgh. He was known for playing for all kinds of different teams, so it's basically just what photos I could get off of Google Images. But Ron Francis is up there in points for the entire league, so he's definitely a legend, and that's why he's at a 94 rating as opposed to others that are at a lower rating. Next up, we got Jean Beliveau, Montreal, one of Montreal's all-time legends, and there's no question he deserves to be in the game. Moving on, we got Teemu Selnne. This was actually the first card that I made, so that's why it looks kind of it's like the coloring is faded, and I don't really know. I could definitely remake the Teemu Selnne card and make it better, but I just kept this one for now. 95 skating, he was wicked fast. He was really good scoring. He wasn't the biggest guy, but maybe 88 checking is a little low. It probably could up it a bit. Moving on, we got Steve Yzerman. Now, Steve Yzerman, obviously a legend in the Detroit Red Wings franchise from Canada. He's actually from Ottawa. His grandparents lived just down the street from my house. His parents lived like about a 5 to 10 minute drive from my house growing up. So he's very, very, he grew up close to where I lived, and 93 rated on his legend card. That's reasonable. Moving on, we got Marcel Dionne, one of the few all-time greats who never won a cup. So he was actually a really awesome player to watch. Looking back on footage of him playing, he was phenomenal. Like Ron Francis, 94 rated because they're both up there in points. He would just be such a cool card to use in the game. He's small, fast, got a good shot, got good hands. Like, he would just be cool to use. Moving on, we got Ken Dryden, now one of Montreal's most famous goaltender. They've had so many that it all depends on who you're talking to, really. Throughout the decades, there's just... whoever you're talking to would say that... would give their opinion on who the greatest goaltender for Montreal has been. I think it might be Ken Dryden or Patrick Roy, but whoever you really decide on. But nonetheless, obviously deserves a legend card, and hopefully we see him in the game soon. Moving on, we got Kela Fleur. So there's a lot of Montreal legends in this game. I had to add Montreal legends because there just haven't been any. There's been no Montreal legends for the past couple years, and they definitely deserve to add some more, because if you look at the greatest play, like the top 100 players, there's so many from Montreal and Toronto and stuff. Like, they just gotta add them more into the game. Kela Fleur is a good start. He was a phenomenal player back when he played. Now we got Mario Lemieux, our first 95 rated player. Mario Lemieux, along with Gretzky, Gordie Howe, and Bobby Orr, top 4 players in the league, or top 4 players of all time, so that's why he is at a 95. And beside him, we were just talking about it, we got Bobby Orr here. Bobby Orr has never been in NHL. It would be so cool to use him. No helmet, flying down the ice as an offensive defenseman. Just incredible if he was in the game. It'd be so cool to use him. And again, we were talking about him, Wayne Gretzky here. Now, Wayne Gretzky and Lemieux were in the game not so long ago, but they weren't that high rated. I have them at 95 and 96 just because, with respect to the other legends in the game, you can't have like Wayne Gretzky as a 93 when Pronger's a 93 sort of thing. So that's why Wayne Gretzky's a 96. That's the highest I went because he is obviously the greatest player of all time. So 96 is the highest one. He would just be phenomenal to use if he was that high rated. Now we got Terry Sawchuck, goaltender for primarily Detroit. He also played for Toronto. I know him for playing on Detroit, but I couldn't find a good enough photo on Google Images for him on Detroit, so that's why I have him on Toronto here. But a lot of the goalies, like Plant and Sawchuck, it's kind of hard to determine what their stats would be like, because back then the play was so different. They were all stand-up goaltenders, and it was basically just get in front of the shot. There wasn't, I don't know how much technique was involved in being a goaltender, but so that's why it's kind of hard. Moving on, we got Phil Esposito, an incredible player. I think he was the first player to score 100 points in a season, and 94 rated. Just, he would be awesome to use. He's a big guy, wicked shot, good hands, just a natural born scorer, and he would be awesome to use in the game, of course. Now we got Bobby Clarke, the big bruiser Bobby Clarke, 96 checking on his card. He was part of the Broad Street Bullies, of course, a hitting forward, a power forward. He would just be awesome. Now we got Paul Coffey, defenseman. He put up a lot of points in his career. He played with Wayne Gretzky, of course, an Edmonton Oilers legend, 94 rated. What else can you say? He should be in the game. Now we got Dennis Potvin. Look at his helmet. That would be so cool if they added that into the game too. 95 shooting. He had a wicked slap shot. Just an well-rounded card that I have picked out for him here. And like I've said for all the other ones, basically, I'd love to see him in the game. Now we got Doug Harvey. Now here's an example of an older player. He played way back when, and I looked up stuff about him. He was known for being a fantastic skater and passer, so that's why he's got 94 hands and skating. And I really hope that they do start adding more Montreal legends like him, like Howie Morenz, Toe Blake, guys like that into the game where you can actually use players who don't have a helmet on. You can see what they'd be like in NHL. I think it would just look incredible. Hopefully when they do, if they do, they actually put on the gloves that they used to wear too, because that would be a bit of a fail if Doug Harvey's wearing Bauer gloves. Like, come on. Now we got Scott Stevens, who might just be the most hyped legend. He'd be like a better Ken Danico, because Scott Stevens was just a absolute wrecking ball, and his slap shot was unbelievable too. 97 checking, 94 shooting. He would just be incredible to have in the game, and I feel like they could definitely add him, just seeing as the pattern they've gone with adding these new age legends into the game. We could definitely see him in the next one, or even 2020. Now we got Paul Kariya, second to last legend here, and Paul Kariya, when I was growing up, I loved Paul Kariya. I feel like people might not think he deserves a legend card, but I do. He was just, it was just a really good player. And finally, we got Gordie Howe. This is probably my favorite looking card out of all the ones I've made. Gordie Howe looks like an absolute legend in this picture right now. 95 rated. He wasn't the fastest, but his shot, his hands were incredible. He was big. He could defend. Like, he was just really good. And Gordie Howe needs to be in the game. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to work all these legends into the game. I mean, they just need to get them into the game. A way of looking at this is if NBA 2K didn't have Michael Jordan in the game. Imagine everybody going in to get NBA on the day of its release, super hyped up. They're going to use Michael Jordan, they're going to use Kareem, they're going to use Wilt Chamberlain, they're going to use Shaq, and none of them are in the game. Like, come on, like, what's going on here? NHL does not have Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, or Gordie Howe in the game. The top 4 legends of all time, maybe even the greatest 10 players of all time, I don't even think are in the game, which is unbelievable. I don't know why they're struggling to get these players into the game. I don't know if it's a money issue or what it is, but definitely, please, can we hope to see them in the game within the next couple of years. That's it for this video. If you guys did enjoy this one, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on the video. If you are new on here, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.